Oh, hello World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome to the grand finale of...
The Summer of Freddy versus Jason!
I need to invest in a crash mat. Anyway, time to call in that favor. 1-900 creepy guy. You son of a bitch!
Nice to hear from you too, Decker. Tell me, have we gone back on our medication and stopped shouting random insults into the phone?
Medication? No, listen, I got us something better. Freddy vs. Jason. Crossover review. The autumnal equinox starts on the 22nd, so we don't really got much time. And I even got us costumes.
Costumes? I don't have a costume for... Hold on just a second. Huh. I stand corrected.
What? You mean it's only just now there? I ordered it for you months ago.
You must have ordered through Amazon again. Why am I getting the costume for Jason exactly? This is barely even a costume. Just a pair of coveralls and a hockey mask. I'll look like the Maytag repairman trying out for the Florida Panthers.
You're Jason Voorhees. I've got the glove. I'm Freddy Kruger. It's my summer special, so I get to choose.
Fine.
I'll be the misshapen loner who lives out in the woods, and you can be the homicidal child molester.
That's more like it. Anyway, let's actually start talking about the movie. We're finally taking a look at Freddy vs. Jason. Simply put, it's a movie about Freddy Kruger and how he meets Jason Voorhees, and they fight each other. Since it's an amalgamation of the two franchises, of course a bunch of teenagers get killed along the way.
These movies aren't exactly known for their intellectual stimulation, with the possible exception of New Nightmare. But then, Wes Craven was going through his metafictional phase by then.
Oh, come on, the Friday the 13th franchise gives viewers plenty of things to talk about. Like how you really wish they would just put someone in a fucking wood chipper!
Again with the wood chipper! It didn't happen, Decker. Let it go.
Perhaps even more famous than the movie itself is how long it took to make the darn thing. The concept had been kicked around as early as the 80s, as far as internet research goes. Due to conflicting ideas and how the fight should go, neither Paramount nor New Line Cinema could come up with an agreement for the film. It not only took New Line Cinema buying the rights to make this happen, but at least 20 different scripts were gone through before the studio was satisfied enough to greenlight it.
But hey, at least we get Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, and he gets to face off against Jason Voorhees.
Played by Ken Kersinger, not Kane Hodder.
God damn it! Well, let's take a look at Freddy vs. Jason and finally finish off this summer special. The story opens with Freddy Krueger narrating the history of the franchise for those who haven't been paying attention. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, anyway, it seems to be the part he's most concerned about. After explaining his powers to kill children in their dreams, he points out that if he's forgotten, his powers go as well.
Being dead wasn't a problem, but being forgotten! Now that's a bitch!
Unfortunately, the town of Springwood has worked extra hard to make this the case, but Freddy has a new plan.
But I found someone. Someone who'll make 'em remember. He may get the blood, but I'll get the glory.
Well, yeah, but who gets the Werther's original?
Okay, now you're starting to scare me.
Doing a very impressive cross-dress of Pamela Voorhees, in the form of Paula Shaw, Freddy tricks Jason into resurrecting himself and going to Springwood, at which point...
I've been away from my children for far too long.
The effectively disturbing mood and atmosphere that was built up until this point is blasted in the kneecaps with a shotgun. For example, when being chased by a psycho killer, one generally doesn't stop to do that.
Once the rockin' opening credits are over with, we are introduced to our first batch of important characters. Gib, played by Catherine Isabel, Lori, played by Monica Keena, and last but not least, Kia, played by Destiny's Child member Kelly Rowland. They're establishing their character traits the fastest way they can, with a game of Kill, Fuck, Marry.
Fred, Scooby, or Shaggy?
Kill, Scooby, Fuck, Shaggy, Marry, Fred.
I had no idea you entertained such fantasies about Shaggy Rogers Decker, though personally, I would have switched those last two around.
Well, at least we can agree that the dog has to die.
I never said that, but if you make it Scooby-Dumb, we've got a deal.
Even though Jason is obviously lurking right outside the house, something far more horrifying has arrived. The love interests. Gibbs' boyfriend Trey, played by Jesse Hutch, has party crashed with his friend Blake, played by David Kopp. We quickly establish that Trey is a consummate douche, while Blake is hoping to score with Lori.
He's not my type. Who is? No one's ever gonna live up to the fuzzy memory of your first love, Lori.
Which happens to be a guy she knew when she was 14 and hasn't seen or heard from in years.
Ah, young love. I guess it's true that all of us really must go through the heartbreak and restraining orders.
And awkward sex scenes.
Yeah, fuck me, baby.
Whatever the fuck they were doing, that wasn't sex.
Babe, you know I don't like to be touched on here, okay?
You're gonna die first, aren't you?
Yes, the body count has started. And how? Jason wanted to make sure that motherfucker died. Finding the perforated and contorted corpse of your boyfriend definitely counts as a mood killer. Instead of calling the police, the group of teenagers do this smart thing and run out of the house screaming into the rainy night. By pure happenstance, the cop car happens to be passing by. And in a movie about an undead kill and a dream-walking monster, that has stretched my suspension of disbelief the furthest out of everything.
You kids need some assistance.
What the fuck do you think?
Well, you're a teenager, you're inebriated, and your hands and arms are covered in blood. Chances are the cop's going to think you killed someone.
Or the Hellraiser after party has gone horribly wrong.
Shockingly, Gibb isn't accused of murder, and the cops are actually on the scene after a quick transition. Lori notices that the officers are behaving rather shady, and she overhears a name being whispered. The police take everyone down to the station, where one of the officers on the scene, Deputy Scott Stubbs, played by Lachlan Monroe, also doesn't get anywhere trying to figure out what's happening.
But they asked me all these really weird questions, like about my dream.
Hey, try and get laid on your own time.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say the police were trying to impede this deputy's attempts at solving this mystery.
Well, of course they are, Creepy. You can't have the plot all explained in one spot. It has to be spaced out in these kind of situations.
His name is Freddy Kruger, and he loves children, especially little girls.
Or you could just throw it right at the audience and smack them across the face with it. And this movie wasn't even filmed in 3D.
Laurie finishes this nightmare by walking through a quick refresher course on Elm Street trivia before waking up safe and sound. The movie then shifts over to Blake, sitting on his porch and having a confrontation with his father, played by Brent Chapman. Or Alex Jones, I'm not entirely sure.
My best friend was just killed, Dad. So how about giving me some fucking space?
You really can't blame Blake for being upset. His father was probably trying to tell him about the lizard men again.
My bet is he blamed the whole thing on Obama.
This movie was from 2003. Obama wasn't president yet.
Somehow it's still Obama's fault.
Despite being filled with adrenaline rage, Blake still manages to fall asleep. Somehow. Experiencing instant REM, he finds himself confronted by Freddy Kruger. However, Kruger's shadow attack doesn't quite go according to plan.
Okay, I'm alright. Not strong enough yet. Well, I will be soon enough.
Truthfully, this is a very good way of showing what we've all suspected for a very long time now. Freddy doesn't just like scaring victims for the first half of the movie, he needs his victims to be terrified. It shows he has a vulnerability without minimizing him as a threat.
Kind of like those squeeze flashlights that don't take batteries.
Now I understand why you're always calling me at 3 in the morning. These are the kinds of jokes that would get out into the world without my input.
Dad.
That's not how decapitation works.
that matters, creepy. The body count has risen.
Do you just sit around on your couch waiting for the opportunity to say that line?
Yes. I mean, no. As we haven't actually rattled off all the important characters yet, we teleport over to the Westin Hills Psychiatric Hospital to introduce a couple more. Mark, played by Brendan Fletcher, and Will, played by Jason Ritter. What are they in the nut house for?
Come on, turn it back on, man! I never asked for anything, just turn on the fucking TV, please!
Game of Thrones withdrawal.
Tits, sex, bloody violence, Game of Thrones. Yeah, I can see why a teenager would become addicted.
After being threatened with sedation, the two settle down and establish their respective backstories. Mark is a true believer whose older brother supposedly committed suicide and who used to have nightmares about Freddy. Will, on the other hand, was locked up because he claimed to have seen Laurie's father murder her mother several years ago.
And with these new killings, Will is adamant about escaping Westin Hills and riding to Laurie's rescue.
And how does he plan to pull off this great escape?
A heaping helping of man-ass. We haven't seen that in either franchise for a while. I guess the producers thought the audience was long overdue.
I don't think even I would want escaped from sanitarium through the power of man-ass on my resume.
But how is this aggressive exhibitionism supposed to help? Simple. While they sedated Mark, he swiped the guard's card key, and Will is lucid enough to carry him out as they both escape into the night. That way they can show up to Laurie's school the next day when she's freaking out of that weird nightmare she had, and freak her out some more.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
1, 2, Freddy come for you. Before the lockdown door, Martian God!
That's it, I'm out.
Hey, get back here. We haven't even got to the big monster brawl yet.
While Mark continues to freak the hell out of Laurie, Will comes up behind her to let her know everything will be okay. This touching reunion causes Laurie to pass out. For reasons, I guess. Because they're escaped fugitives, Mark and Will make a run for it while Laurie is taken to the nurse's office.
While she's unconscious. And we all know what that means in this franchise.
Got your nose!
Kruger attacks! The other one, because she fell asleep. Somehow.
All of a sudden, teenagers in Springwood are suffering from narcolepsy.
Mark and Will have plenty of time while running from the authorities to stop off at the library and check the town's records. In it, they find nothing, as it's all been censored or completely erased. Will is having trouble accepting this, but seeing all the steps this town took leads Mark to a frightening conclusion.
My brother said it's our fear that gives him his power.
Yeah, well, you sure as hell spread enough fear today at school.
Holy shit.
Congratulations, dumbass! You just escaped from a nut house to do Freddy's job for him.
Freddy should have just broke these two out of the institution instead of freeing Jason from hell. Sounds a lot easier, and these guys are a lot more effective at spreading fear across Springwood. And also, Freddy's lost a lot of the kill count to Jason.
Will wants to find Laurie, so Mark turns over the keys to his older brother's van, which he somehow has, and is in perfectly working condition, after 4 years.
Screw this. If I start nitpicking over every misstep this movie takes, I'll sound like you, Decker. Let's just skip ahead to where the teenagers are getting drunk. That's better. How much time do we save?
About 20 seconds. The victim of the alcohol assault is Lenderman, played by Chris Marquette. He's a member of the group who's kept at a distance because Kia doesn't like him much, but he doesn't care.
You tear me down to make yourself feel better because you really hate yourself, which is kind of pathetic when you actually stop and think about it, assuming, of course, you can think, with all that makeup weighing down your head.
I like this kid.
Come on, what's this? Come on, Lenderman, let's go.
And apparently she does now, too.
While this love match made on a train wreck is going down, Gib wanders away from the party crowd to be alone. This makes her a prime target for our resident slashers. But which one?
I really thought that would have been Jason. It fits his MO better. There's drugs, sex, and debauchery going on everywhere. And how the hell is Freddy even attacking her?
She was drunk, remember? In an Elm Street movie, that equals unconsciousness.
got really uncomfortable really fast. I can handle the death, just not, just... In fact, how about that? Just bring some death right here, right now, please.
She's mine! Mine! Mine!
So the real conflict of the movie is revealed. Jason stole the last Rice Krispie treat bar from Freddy, and he must pay. Later, first we have to watch Jason crash at the party and kill all the drunken teenagers.
Invite only, corn poke, and you weren't invited!
Son of a bitch.
Keeping with the theme of sugary snack bars, want an even more satisfying crunch? Okay, Decker, I know you have to edit these clips for time, but where the hell did that tiki torch come from?
I didn't edit that down, I've got no idea.
Evidently, the jock's plan was to give Jason the power to burn the entire cornfield and everyone in it to a crackly crisp. Fire, as we know it, doesn't slow the Crystal Lake Killer down one bit, and he breaks up the party faster than a half-dozen cop cars could.
Jason, have you been drinking?
No, Mother.
Have you been killing teenagers?
Yes, Mother.
Good boy. Fortunately, the main cast of characters have enough plot armor to escape Jason's massacre, picking up Bill Freeberg along the way, played by Kyle Labine, who has a unique insight on the situation.
Dude, that goalie was pissed about something.
And every time I see him, all I can think about is Jay. Where the hell is Silent Bob?
He's running around with a machete, Decker. That or his agent was able to get him into a different movie.
Not long after, the gang splits up, because that's always a smart move in horror films. Laurie and Will are left alone so he can finally impart upon her that important information he neglected to mention earlier.
The reason I was sent to Westin is because I saw your dad kill your mom.
Because that was hilarious.
No, it's not. What were they thinking, going with that take?
I think it was supposed to be nervous laughter, but it does really come off like every time he thinks about his mother's death, it just brings a smile to his face. Laurie's father arrives to break the pair up, but Laurie has had enough of so many secrets and lies. She demands to know the truth, but her father's response is to try and dope her and chase her up the stairs.
Laurie! Laurie! Open this door.
Damn it, Laurie, open this door! I don't have time to deal with your shit! There's lightning in the house!
You know, even with the serial killers running around all over the place, that does seem more important.
Laurie's not about to take this shit lying down. Locking herself up in her bedroom, she then slivers out the window to meet back up with Will. The two take the Scooby van to Mark's place,
Who somehow has a place, in addition to a van. Nobody else lives there, yet the cops haven't bothered checking out that address.
They're crafty enough to strip Freddy from all the public records and keep kids from remembering him, but when it comes to checking a phone book listing, it's just too much work. Will and Laurie get to Mark's house. Seriously, how does he have his own frickin' house? Only to find he's fallen asleep and being tortured by Freddy. Kruger plans to use Mark to send a message to the others, even if he's being uncooperative about the whole deal.
Pass on a little message for me, will ya?
No, that's Mark's back.
Never mind, Decker.
Deputy Scott Stubbs, who's been the only officer in Springwood trying to solve this case, believes that the murders are being committed by a Jason Voorhees copycat. The sheriff, however, isn't buying any of it.
You listen to me. We do things around here a certain way for a reason.
The movie's 90 minutes. You can't give away the whole plot in the first act. What's wrong with you?
And while the only decent cop on the force, because there's always only one, gets cock-blocked, the rest of the main cast gets together for a roundtable discussion. Pity they didn't think to put it on Newgrounds.
Talk about your obscure references. Does anyone even remember Newgrounds anymore? Especially since they took the mature tab off the front page. Since they're all about the same age, Deputy Stubbs shows up to dump exposition about everything he knows regarding Jason. The conversation takes a weird turn, however, when the group switches subjects to placating Freddy with a virgin sacrifice.
Don't worry, Angel. You've still got me. Come on, give Daddy a kiss.
Freddy and tongue action. This franchise has some interesting fetishes.
Hey, this movie has one. You want me to go over the weirdness of the entire Friday the 13th franchise fetish list?
This is the point of the movie where the teens discover that, if they are holding on to something of Freddy's when they wake up, they carry it with them into the real world. In this case, it's Freddy's ear. Further discussion reveals that Will and the other inmates at Westin Hills were on an experimental drug called Hypnosil, which a quick web search reveals suppresses dreams.
They could have just watched the earlier movies if they wanted to figure that out.
Well, Nancy's not alive anymore to help them. The internet really is their best bet. Good goddess, that's depressing.
The team decides to infiltrate Westin Hills, which is even easier than breaking out of it despite the sanitarium's maximum level security. Seriously, there are prisons with less high-tech equipment. There's also only one security guard, who gets taken out by Jason because he followed the kids there. Freddy is also at the asylum invading the dreams of Freeburg and tempting him with Alice in Wonderland references so he can possess the kid, something we haven't seen for a while, and have him dump all the Hypnosil down the drain.
What are you doing? We need those drugs! Dude, no! Dude!
But oh no, Jason's being electrocuted!
So what? For him, that's like finding a one-up mushroom in Mario Brothers. Because we have to dump the one character who would be the most used to a pack of teenagers.
I was starting to like him. He's had more character development in the last 10 minutes than the rest of the cast combined.
With Jason on their tails and Freddy acting as the mole, the group decides to make a run for it. Freddy, however, has his own plan for putting an end to Jason's homicidal reign of kill-stealing.
Come on!
Let me handle this, bitch.
What?
Back where you belong!
Wait. Stabbing him doesn't work. Shooting him doesn't work. Electrocuting him doesn't work. Drowning him doesn't work. Burning him doesn't work. Fucking hanging him doesn't work. Fucking throwing him into a wood chipper kinda doesn't work. Fucking crushing him doesn't work. Horse tranquilizers, though. Oh, why didn't we think about this before?
Because they're horror movie protagonists.
Does Jason dream of electric camp counselors? Well, that's what he was doing in the opening, but this time he winds up in Freddy's nightmare boiler room. Seriously, Freddy, lose the boiler room.
And at long last, we have our great big knockdown drag-out brawl.
Oh, so Freddy's got his regeneration powers in the dream world. Well, that's right, you get dream powers. What does Jason get out of this deal?
Hydrophobia. Something he's never demonstrated before. I'd be less upset if it were a specific fear of drowning, but...
God damn. So despite it not being established in any Friday the 13th movie before or since, and going against quite a bit of what we've seen the hulking killer doing in those, he's got a paralyzing fear of water. Digging a little deeper, literally, Freddy peeks into Jason's past. Around the same time, Laurie decides she's going to take a dose of trank as well, and join in on the dream, because we gotta at least pretend that the teens are important to the plot. Okay, so he didn't just drown. He was bullied by the other kids at the camp and thrown into the lake. You know, that I could actually get behind.
Even if it goes against everything we've seen in canon so far?
Hey, Jason was supposed to be dead in the first film. Friday the 13th isn't exactly known for its airtight continuity.
Laurie tries to save Jason, but Freddy is in control, and sends Jason down to the bottom of the lake. Then cues up a really hideous red saturation effect.
But since this is a nightmare, being trapped inside a Nintendo Virtual Boy could be considered horrific.
Won't get any arguments from me on that one. There is one question that still remains. Where did Jason go?
Oh, he woke up. The team's master plan is to drag Jason back to Crystal Lake, drag Freddy out of the dream world, and have the two fight each other.
That sounds kind of important. Why didn't you cue me in on this earlier?
I was trying to get past the counselors having sex so you wouldn't be distracted by them.
Oh, right. There were counselors having sex. Moving on, Laurie's alarm is about to go off, so she grabs Freddy. Problem is she's on tranquilizers, and there's this thing about tranquilizers. They tranquilize you, so this plan fails spectacularly, while the rest of the group drags her unconscious ass down to Camp Crystal Lake and tries to hide from Jason.
This plan is working out about as well for Laurie as it did for Nancy in the first film. Granted, Nancy has the excuse of being tired and not on drugs.
Boy, please! Boy, please!
Well, that went from 0 to 100 in a hurry.
Linderman tries to save the day with the power of his Murica attack, but this earns him a backhand onto a wall mount. Laurie, meanwhile, at long last, wakes up when her hand touches the flames, which brings Freddy into the real world with her.
Well, what do you know? I got my heavy metal version of the Friday the 13th theme after all.
I was too distracted by Freddy's oh crap face, but good for you.
Thus begins the epic battle of the century. Freddy realizes he's vulnerable in the real world and pays a lot more attention to dodging Jason's attacks than he did in the dream world, but Jason still manages to pick the guy up, tear the place up with him, and throw his ass quite a distance away, meaning Kia gets a chance to keep Freddy from going after the two main characters by tempting him to go after the black character in the horror movie. Honestly, plot-wise, I think that's how it was written.
How sweet. Dark meat.
I don't even know how to react to that.
What kind of faggot runs around in a Christmas sweater?
Okay, now I know how to react to that.
Kia taunts Freddy some more, but fails to notice the hulking machete killer behind her. With Kia down for the count, this means our two heroes have plenty of time to escape and leave the two psychopaths to each other. Except Laurie learned in the dream world that it was actually Freddy who murdered her mother, and
I am not leaving until I see him die!
They have their chance to escape! I mean, it's right there! But no, she wants revenge.
At least we can distract ourselves with the smackdown that's taking place a few feet away.
Well, this is Freddy versus Jason. That's what you'd expect. Once tearing up the nearby construction site, which of course is there because why wouldn't you think to build on Crystal Lake? I mean, what the hell could happen? Freddy and Jason are out on the pier. Laurie and Will hose everything down with gasoline, including a set of propane tanks, then light the whole motherfucking bitch up. Since horror movie rules are still in effect, this still isn't enough to bring either slasher titans down, even after they rip each other's respective body parts off and attack each other with each other's signature weapons. Jason finally goes down under the water, leaving only Freddy left for the teens to deal with. Two teenagers versus Freddy Kruger. You know, even heavily wounded, these fuckers are dead.
Welcome to my world, bitch!
Or not. Final act. Freddy has to go down somehow.
Well, yeah, but by her? So, happy ending. Freddy and Jason are both at the bottom of Crystal Lake. Laurie looks weirdly like Angelina Jolie, and Will gets the girl. At least we can assume, if he can stop laughing after every sentence, and doesn't get sent back to the funny farm.
So that was Freddy versus Jason, and it's really not all that bad.
You know, I liked it for what it is, but now there's certainly room for improvement. So far as monster mashups go, Freddy vs. Jason does a lot of things right. The backstories of both slasher icons are respected and well represented, spare a few bumps here and there, and the overall explanation of how and why they end up in this situation actually makes sense. My biggest bone to pick with this movie is, well, everything in it that isn't Freddy or Jason.
I personally felt the plot and characterization all around was flawed, but overall well done. The representation of Freddy and Jason is pretty solid, though Jason does come across as the more powerful of the two. However, because of the plot, that actually works, as we see Freddy trying to regain his power base for himself and Jason getting in the way. By far the greatest weak points in this film are the acting and the special effects. The studio was clearly trying to make a summer blockbuster on a minimalized budget, and that just really doesn't work.
When it comes to the characters on display, they're all very generic. You'd think, like many slasher movies, they'd concentrate on fleshing out at least the main pair, Laurie and Will, but they're just as basic as the rest of the cast. The mediocre acting on display also doesn't help like it did with Friday the 13th 2009, where we saw simple characters be made interesting thanks to the performances. In this, the most interesting character I saw was the deputy, and he got knocked out almost as soon as he became important. Overall, I'd give Freddy vs. Jason 3 magical tiki torch attacks out of 5. The fun of the premise and the well-balanced plot help a lot, but not enough to bring this story to greatness.
Whereas the characters themselves are good, the acting is very underwhelming. It isn't all bad, mind you. Robert Englund is brilliant as Freddy, of course, and Ken Kersinger doesn't do a bad job portraying Jason. The biggest failing comes from the teenage characters. We've all seen worse acting, don't get me wrong. The story of Laurie and Will is written well enough, I think, and I love the fact that Laurie was very proactive, refusing to wait around and be rescued, and even getting the killing stroke in at the climax. The actors portraying said characters were underwhelming, average at best. What good acting we did see came from characters that ended up dying before the film was half over. Thus, I give Freddy vs. Jason 3 torpedo-sized air tanks out of 5.
The movie's not terrible, but being the first clash between two iconic figures of horror cinema, it leaves you feeling disappointed and wanting more.
Thank you all for watching. I've been... God damn it. Damn, son of a bitch. Fucking... Movie over? Can we come in? Fine, just try not to break anything.
Are you talking to yourself?
No, it's just these damn things. I'm having multiplicity flashbacks. Hey, creepy.
Really? Double-deckers. You think your life is the one that's going to be made harder by this? Were you playing around with that cloning kit? I warned you about that.
It's not my fault. I have no idea where these nameless monstrosities came from. Hey, now, I do have a name. It's Decker Shado. I'm Decker Shado. No. It's Decker Shado with a W. Oh, you motherfucker.
Wait, seriously? We're ending on that?
He's like a shadow. He's like a shadow. He's like a shadow.
The internet personality with the best hair.
He's like a shadow. He's like a shadow. He's like a shadow.
The internet personality with the best hair.